Hello, welcome to Founder Log 27 minus 2. Kind of what I learned about myself in Japan or solo traveling and so on, just a general discussion. Along with, obviously, if you're new around here, welcome to the show, welcome to the deal. This is kind of my thing where I've been doing this for, what is it, 25 weeks right now. Inside joke, 27 minus 2. But, you know, for whatever reason. So I just landed a few hours ago, and here I am in work mode. I, I don't know how this happened. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me, but this is just where I'm at. And so, like, while I was out there, I got the whole 10K of Pershing Square, because I bought a few shares in my Roth, and it's like I don't really need the fund literature, but I'll take a gander at it later. But like this beefy thing, probably 200 pages or so, 150, and it's filled with legal and whatever stuff they're required to hand out upon IPOs or whatever. So with that being said, um, there's a lot. I was out in Japan for 5 weeks. There's a lot that happened, a lot that I don't really quite remember entirely, as it kind of blurs together, and you realize, oh my gosh, 5 weeks in Japan only felt like two, and I have no idea if that's like a side effect of like what I'll just call time dilation, or what, um, or dilution, whatever. But going on, right, like persona wise or whatever, right? Like I think part of me wanted to experience Japan solo traveling wise, to kind of see these dormant skills. Obviously as an entrepreneur, you have this variable playbook, let's say. The skill set is very versatile, but hard to get sophisticated when it comes to like job hunting or approaching this type of some specific dynamic. And you take that and say, all right, let me do that in a foreign country. I don't speak the language. I have no idea. I have an idea of how I'm going to get around, but I have no idea how the subway is. I don't know whatever. And it's like a complete toolbox, open-ended challenge, problem solving on the daily or weekly, or however that would be logistically speaking too. And following that, there's a new level of confidence where it's like, okay, so who I actually, like, um, I guess in a sense it works like a self-discovery, vacation, travel, journey, adventure. Um, but for me, I've always kind of knew who I was, so it is more so just like these dormant skills that I should probably lean into these, because obviously, I am a very social person, but my environment, this cage per se, um, doesn't really help me embody that person that I actually am versus, I guess, who I was before Japan. And the sentiment's still there, right? I still am the person I was, back then, whatever. uh Certain attitudes are like, okay, so design wise, this is how I think things should be run or whatever, structured. So let's say that with the train system or the airfare and stuff, where it's like, oh my gosh, I quite literally just show up to the airport, airline or whatever, or the gate 30 minutes early, and then we board 15 minutes early, and then we're gone. We're up in the air within 20 minutes. um and then on top of that, the train stuff, where I guess I there's an immeasurable amount of times that obviously I didn't quite know where I was going, and I hop on the wrong train, and hey, look, I am 40 minutes from where I actually have to be, and I'm supposed to check in an hour ago. Not a fun time. Kobe was probably the hardest one to like wrap my head around train logistics wise, even if it was like the easiest to get to from my drought travels. So, skeleton wise, I started in Tokyo. I went to Ishigaki, then I went to Miyako Jima, then I went to Okinawa. I stayed in Naha. Then I went to Amami Jima, but that was like a pit stop to fly because I was not gonna deal with going to Korea just to go to Kagoshima. So there, Kirishima, because apparently the airport's not in Kagoshima, it's an hour away. Logistics speaking, you hop on a bus, you hop on a taxi, and you go down an hour to Kagoshima. Spend a night in Kagoshima, Shinkansen to Kobe. Kobe, I was there 1 or 2 nights, kind of blurs together. Went back to Tokyo, met my friends, was with my friends for 10 days. I think it was 5 days in Tokyo, 4 days in Sapporo, in the adjacent areas. Along with that, then from there, I go from Sapporo to Osaka, Osaka to Kyoto, Kyoto to Yokohama, and then Tokyo. And that was kind of my adventure. And so, effectively, 3 solo weeks and 2 group weeks, and it's fun. So I don't know, like you just kind of iron out some stuff. So I've discovered I'm quite the crammer, and I like to get as much as done as possible and try to have as minimal, not free time per se, but in the evenings, right? It's like okay, the free time's for the evening, so you can do laundry, wind down, whatever. Um, I'm probably not a lifetime life what's called nightlife person. I'm fine with it, like late night jazz, bar, lounge, whatever. But for whatever reason, I just don't. I think nightlife is interesting, but it's not really for me. I would say I'm still open to seeing that type of deal and exploring that, but at least for now, it doesn't seem like up my alley. I'll play around with it, but random highlights. It's like day drinking, as degenerate as that sounds, with and then having a night out with a bunch of people from a handful of people from the hostel. Like Germans and Norwegians and I think Dutch and some Colorado girl and some Scotsman and obviously Texan and it's fun going to the arcade kind of hammered. Um, the day before I flew out, right? So, what else? It's just like you have a random moment spats that's just like this is cool. Uh, Miyakojima snorkeling in Miyakojima was marvelous. Um, and just certain things. But that being said, like it's still like structurally speaking, I know who I am. I'm basically an engineer, but I'm more interested in systems and finance and logistics. So like the build out and structuring is kind of things that I seem to love like as a playground. Like I like the build. And it didn't really feel that way until I was in middle either like right before I met my friends in Tokyo or right after our group split up and went their own ways, returned stateside or, explored Kyoto while I was in Osaka, whatever. So like that whole deal. Um, and then other than that, it's kind of it. Like it's just you see aspects of yourself that um you think are dormant that have popped back up. You're like, oh my gosh. Oh, I am actually great at speaking with people or talking, converse. I'm very conversational, but I don't know how to approach people. But then, when you're solo traveling, you're forced into having to do this stuff. And maybe there's some dissatisfaction in some hostels where it's like, oh, I'm in Osaka, one of the places I would expect to be the most social, and it is not whatsoever, at least at my hostel. And I'm not too big of a fan of hostels. I do like them, but it's probably like you gotta cherry pick or something where, my first one, I was out in this guy's house in Miyako, and it was marvelous. Second place was Naha, but I was there for a week, so I was like, okay, I feel like I'm living in Cougar Grounds or Cougar Village or whatever the UH dorm was called. Uh, Shout out Ryan, do this shit in this room, and yeah, kind of deal. Where it's like okay, and then from there, it was like a capsule hotel in Kagoshima, and then I had my own room essentially because no one was at this hostel in Kobe. That was dope. Bumped into my friends, and then the Osaka deal. Uji or Kyoto was cool because I was in this inn, this restored inn, and then Kagoshima was neat. I was Yokohama, excuse me, was neat. I was staying in Chinatown, and um, what can I say? Just the food is great, and then I wanted to try whale. That was the only thing I didn't get to try when I was there. But I did have pufferfish. So, who's laughing now, right? Uh, I don't know. I think you're pushed out of your comfort zone, and then you realize, like, okay, this is actually who I am, or like this is the type of personality I have. This is the type of attitudes I have, and being able to like, I guess, take a step back or a change of environment, scenery, and then be able to like, okay, yeah, it's probably not a great idea to be a guy working in his room all day, having breakfast and lunch and whatever in the same like location, and then only going to the gym and then it's back on the computer, right? Like the I think the routine is too formulaic, and a change of pace or scenery or being able to step back, which was part of the purpose of the trip, right? It was like a vacation, exploration kind of thing, adventure. A man craves adventure, and that was kind of it. And then it's just coming back, you're like, okay, well, I'm not really excited to be back. I wish I had more time out there. But it's like, all right, now you've recaptured some level of motivation or interest or some viewpoint, vision, desire, goal. I'm not totally certain like how you describe this, but like whatever the opposite of homesickness was, I think it was Fernst. There was a German word for it. It's like far. Here, let me look it up. Fernweh. Fernweh. Um, where it's like the opposite. You're just like you want to travel or something, and obviously I don't know the capital for that now, and now it's what making this money back and figuring out next steps. Right, like okay, uh, obviously too, this is like a bridge, work like a bridge where it's like okay, this has to work like a maturity vehicle where like okay, I got to learn all these skills and things where, um, you know, obviously I think downplaying and being humble is good to have or be, but when you want to make a name for yourself, it's not really the best trait to embody. Um, but at the same time, it keeps you grounded. So I, it's a double edged sword, I think. Where like I don't really care to boast. I might boast here and there, but I don't really care to boast. So I think this will be a shorter one, so we can post it on Instagram and then you know get some engagement there. But from that, like thanks for listening, watching, checking in. Uh, Tune in to next week. You just had all of Forced Adaptation version A, B, C, D, and E that I recorded throughout my time in Japan. And I wanted this to be a more, I don't want to say laid back, but a more structured or more conversational type of episode. So thanks for watching. Bye.